Hello. Hello, everyone. We're going to get started. Okay, here we go. I'm Aron, Cramer, President and CEO of BSR, and I am absolutely delighted to welcome everybody. Welcome to the 2014 BSR conference. For those of you who've been here in the past, we are delighted to have you back. We do get a lot of people coming back every year. And for people who've come for the first time, thank you very much for coming. For everybody, we're really excited to engage with you and hopefully inspire you over the next couple of days. This conference provides a great spot in a very busy annual calendar for everybody to take a step back, think about new developments, new solutions in the world of business and sustainability, and also a chance to connect with a pretty vibrant, marvelous community of people who are here. We are especially happy this year. We've changed some things up. You'll notice it's not 8 a.m. right now, which is when we typically start. So we expect everyone's very well rested and ready to go. We're going to have two fabulous speakers in plenary tonight. We're actually going to close also with an evening on Thursday with a great closing speaker and a closing dialogue where we'll sum up what we've heard over the next couple of days. As you know and as you can see, transparency and transformation is the theme of the conference this year, and those things are absolutely critical if we're going to build the world that we want to build. In thinking about it, I actually wanted to present a quote from a fabulous novel that's set in Sicily, and it's not The Godfather. So there is another marvelous novel that's set in Sicily. It's called The Leopard by Giuseppe de Lampedusa, and he wrote about the Italian Revolution in the middle of the 19th century, and a very wise character in the book says at one point, if we want things to stay as they are, things will have to change. A little bit mystical, but I think very, 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 very good. And even though the story was set over 150 years ago, the message is really very, very contemporary. And maybe we can think a little bit about what the things are that we want to have stay the same. Well, over the last 100 years or so, we've benefited from a very stable and benign environment. We've had conditions that have enabled technological innovations that have created pretty remarkable things that people could not have possibly imagined. And we've lived through, more recently, an era of unprecedented economic advancement, enabling millions, hundreds of millions of people to move out of poverty, women and other traditionally disadvantaged groups to participate in the global economy in ways that they never had been before, so that more and more people can live lives of dignity and purpose. And that is a great thing, and that is what we want to keep as it has been. At the same time, of course, we're living through a period of really fast change. And if you go back in history, you find that 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, people were saying the same thing. So I don't know if we're that special, but things are going very, very fast. And just over the last 3 months, we've seen a terrible virus ravage large parts of West Africa. There's conflict raging yet again in the Middle East, in the former Soviet Union. And we're continuing to live through a period of serious economic stagnation. And all of this, and I say this on Election Day in the United States, has produced a great sense of public nervousness and disquiet and a sense of vulnerability. But these things are really important, but they also miss some bigger and more important and more enduring stories, because just like there's a big difference between the weather and the climate, there's also a big difference between the news and history. And I think this is a crowd and this is a community that believes in trying to create history and not just react to the news. So the question is, how do we do that? Well, that's where transformation comes in, of course. And as we think about it, it takes a variety of forms. We outlined some of these in the latest BSR report, which we published this morning, and I'm not going to go through all of the details because we really want you to read it. You can find it online. We're not doing printed copies. I think it's really great, and in it we try to tell the story of what we do, but also some of how we see the world, including on the topic of transformation. And we think about transformation, we think about transformed business models, products and services, market rules, and also transformed personal relationships. And I want to talk a little bit about each of those. First, with respect to business models, we're going to hear two speakers tonight, Ellen MacArthur and Andrew Whitty, who are going to talk about that very, very point. Ellen will talk about her vision of the circular economy, which promises radically new ways of delivering value and getting people what they want and what they need. Andrew will talk, amongst other things, about I believe, about a new business unit. If he doesn't, I'll ask him about it. A new business unit he's created to ensure that GSK's products can get into the hands of the people who need them most with sharply reduced profit margins than exist in other parts of the world. So, Dame Ellen, Sir Andrew, we realize this is a royal beginning to our evening tonight. Will show us a unique vision about how business can be transformed. The other thing that's really important is transform markets. And we all know that, and I think we've been saying this at our conference for the last several years, and it remains very important, that without changed market rules, it's very hard for long-term thinking to really get embedded in what companies do. The markets are absolutely punishing. So we'll hear here at the conference from the head of the IIRC, Advancing Integrated Reporting, the head of the GRI, and a board member from SASB, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, who are now working together, and this is, I think, really, really important, working together to create a harmonized vision of how market rules can change. So there's also products, and of course, I live in San Francisco near Silicon Valley, so a lot of the time we think about new products in terms of digital things, Uber and Nest and the like. We'll hear tomorrow from Nils Andersen of Maersk, who's sparked some innovation on a much more massive scale. Super ships that can move vast numbers of products. I read somewhere, and we'll ask him about this, 69 million pairs of Nikes can fit on one of his ships. I think that's true. That might keep the NBA in business for a little while. But with much, much reduced use of energy. So that's product innovation on a very, very large scale. But let's talk a little bit also about transformed personal behavior, because in the story of the leopard, this was about a person who was resisting change. He knew change was needed, but he wasn't quite ready to take it on. Can't let go of the old order. Well, all of us, I think everyone in this room, is all about change, trying to help move your companies, work with the private sector to achieve much better outcomes. And all of us, we know, because change is not easy, we face lots and lots of barriers in ourselves and in others to achieving the kind of change that we want to see. Well, the skills that are needed to enable transformation are also a little bit different. And the formulation that Indra Nooyi uses, and we'll hear from her tomorrow morning as well, is that we have to use our hearts, our heads, and our hands to enable new outcomes in a rapidly changing world. It's that combination of skills that's so important. Because transformative change requires a dreamer's vision and an engineer's practicality. We need both of those things. And that combination isn't so easy to find. And yet, motivation to do those kinds of things, that's what's inspired entrepreneurs, inventors, and all sorts of business people from the time that commerce began. And it's what transformation is all about, and it's what business at its best can deliver. Let's talk a little bit also about transparency. And more and more transparency is not an action, it's a condition. It's not something you do, it's just the way things are. And this affects all of us. It enables a lot of us, but it also throws open to lots of other people vision about what it is that we're doing. And that is fundamentally different. But transparency is with us. It's not going away. And the question is, how do we turn it into an advantage? How do we turn it into an asset? And whether it's through the Internet of Things or big data, or just being able to connect in new ways, this is something that, just like globalization, is simply a part of how we do things, and yet it creates some real dilemmas. Don Tapscott wrote a book called The Naked Corporation, and he says a little bit cheekily, if you're going to be naked, you better be buff. So you better be ready for it. And I think this has absolutely changed the way institutions, especially big institutions, work. So, and as important as these two themes are, they tell us how we may want to get where we're going, but they don't tell us what to accomplish. They don't tell us where to go. And so it's really important to think a bit about that as well. And at BSR, we're focusing our attention on two themes that we think are of crucial importance, working with our 275 member companies, lots and lots of partners around the world, working one-on-one through more than 20 collaborative initiatives from all of our 8 offices. Two themes that we're using as tent poles really to define the agenda on which we work with all of you. And the first is business in a climate-constrained world. You know, a lot of people are pointing towards Paris next December, COP21, when the international negotiations are supposed to culminate with a deal that will come into force by 2020. And I can remember very well opening the BSR conference in 2009 when a lot of us placed great faith in 192 countries to solve the question of climate change in Copenhagen. Well, you might have noticed that that didn't happen. And I think in retrospect, the faith that we had in that process was absolutely well-intentioned and probably also misplaced. You know, looking back, I think we know now how difficult it is to assume that a 20th century model, a grand negotiation, is going to solve a 21st century problem. And so while Paris in December 2015 remains very, very important, I hope that all of us will also learn that it's not the be-all and end-all. And in fact, if you think about the potential outcomes, the role that business plays is absolutely fundamental regardless. Because there are really two options. There's one scenario where you get sort of a tepid deal out of Paris, and it will continue to be the case that public policy sends mixed messages about what the path forward ought to be like. The other outcome is the pleasant surprise outcome, where we actually do get a strong deal, where the US and China join the European Union, other large economies, and really make some strong commitments. And in that scenario, change is going to become required. It's going to be enshrined in law. Under either scenario, it's up to business to make change happen. In the first scenario, it's because others aren't fixing it. In the second scenario, it's because the rules are changing and the businesses that get out ahead of that will be most successful. So regardless of what outcome we get, the need for business innovation is absolutely crucial. And we know from lots and lots of figures that the case for action is very clear. We've decisively breached the 400 parts per million threshold with respect to carbon. Another 400 number, we had 400,000 people out on the streets of New York about 6 weeks ago talking about the importance of action on climate. We really haven't seen anything like that before. Nearly 100 countries have domestic climate policies in place. There are roughly 40 carbon pricing mechanisms already in place, and 1,000 institutions, including many of the companies here, called for a price on carbon in concert with the World Bank in September. So that presents the case, and it also shows what's possible. And it shows that just as the case for action is moving, the path to progress is actually becoming clearer because we're beginning to understand better the kinds of comprehensive mitigation strategies that we can use through efficiency, through new technologies, through collaboration to avoid deforestation, lots of things that are already in process. We also have a greater ability to strengthen adaptive capacity by investing in green infrastructure to minimize harm from extreme weather events. Our conference was in New York just before Superstorm Sandy hit 2 years ago, so we remember that very well. We can protect soils, we can manage water more effectively, and there's also the human dimension of adaptive capacity, because strong communities with good human infrastructure, a good institutional infrastructure, are also much more resilient. And finally, we have a greater understanding of what's called fast mitigation, the potential to reduce warming through short-lived pollutants, things like methane and black carbon. And more companies are embracing this as part of the UN's Climate and Clean Air Coalition and lots of other efforts that are very important and have lots of good potential. So we're making this a part of our program. We're working with many of you on it, on initiatives like the Future of Fuels and the Future of Internet Power, and this is something that we're going to continue to do, working on an industry-by-industry basis, working through the wedges that can allow companies in particular sectors to make progress in ways that are most relevant to them. So what's our second theme? And I talked a bit about economic progress. I talked a bit about how we're living through a period of stagnation. Well, business is thinking about new ways to create more inclusive economic growth, trying to maximize the number of people who are moving out of poverty and finding that that's actually the best path to innovation that companies can find, because that's where the biggest and most promising markets are. And so our vision of an inclusive economy is one where everyone has an equal opportunity to participate in economic activity. And in doing so, we create more robust value chains, we do create product innovation, and widespread market growth. Business activity leads the way through three things that just are at the fundamental core of what businesses already do: the creation of jobs, and jobs that deliver decent wages and decent working conditions. Investments in communities where investments are most needed, with input into how those investments are shaped so that communities are able to retain the benefits of those investments. And innovative products that deliver access to the kinds of products and services, from healthcare and pharmaceuticals to food and other things that are absolutely basic. Another dimension of this is women's empowerment, and this is a topic that has been an area of focus for us through our HER project, through work with companies like Qualcomm using new mobile technologies across Asia to help women access information, healthcare, and the connections that they need to be thriving parts of the economy. And this is something that we're going to continue to drive forward on, and the opportunities are endless, the benefits are endless, and this is something that, by the way, also positions companies to attract the best talent as more and more women become a more and more powerful part of the global economy. So these two themes, business in a climate-constrained world and business leadership for inclusive economy, are fundamental, and they're absolutely linked. We will have better ability to adapt to climate change if we have inclusive economic growth. And there's no way we'll have inclusive economic growth if we don't take climate change on and make sure that it doesn't undermine the economic progress that we've made. So I hope these things resonate with you. We invite you to work with us on them, and we will continue to push forward with them. Okay, back to the conference. Well, you'll have a chance to hear from a lot of really interesting people over the next couple of days. We've got over 100 speakers who are going to be talking about everything from fighting Ebola to climate resilience to product innovation, and even a plenary speaker who's appeared on Dancing with the Stars. And you can guess which plenary speaker that was. You can probably look it up, but try to guess. We'll have people on the plenary stage talking about collaboration in action, showing why collaboration, which we think is so important to the sustainability agenda and is so important to our agenda, showing how it's paying off on some really complex issues like freedom of expression and privacy in the internet. In keeping with the transparency theme, we're going to have an Ask Me Anything session where a few of us from BSR will take any and all questions that you want to throw our way. We're looking forward to that. And we brought the hackathon back for a second straight year, when we'll have, I think, 3 interesting ideas presented on the stage Thursday morning and choose a winner. And the other thing we know about the conference is that a lot of what's best about the conference is exactly what's not planned at this conference. And so we really encourage you to look for some new connections, ask questions, go listen to a topic that you actually don't work on normally, because the unplanned is actually where some of the best magic and some of the best value is. Before closing out, I want to also thank our sponsors, our lead sponsor, Pepsi, track sponsors, HP, eBay, and the Rockefeller Foundation, and many, many other sponsors who make this all possible. So over the next couple of days, get to know the BSR team. We've got about 60 amazing people here, and talk to them about what we do the other 51 days of the year. Inspire each other, think about transformations, and then go back and get started on Monday, because we hope that transformation starts here, and we provide a great springboard for you to carry forward and make some great things happen. So thank you very much for joining us.